I was just thinking back to the November the 12th hike up to the caldera on Mauna Loa, and I was just sort of going back to the pictures and some of the video that I shot of myself in this sort of struggle mode as suddenly these winds had picked up to like 50 miles an hour, and or gusting, and but it was high, and and I was right on, well, close to the edge of the caldera, which at that point drops down like, I don't know, 400-600 feet, something like that. It's steep. And so the wind was coming in from the east, and it was blowing into the caldera, whipping across the top where I was, close to the summit, like within a couple 100 feet, and whipping across the. But down in the caldera, it was like, and I was, I would love to have got a recording of it. It was like so amazing. This whole, air spirit stirring that's going on in this huge area, which is, miles across, 1.5 miles across one way and about, I don't know, 5 miles the other way. So it was like this big stirring pot where the wind was coming in and getting caught in there. And here's me up higher up listening to this stuff. Kind of scary, but when I look back at it now, I'm kind of like green to these experiences. It's not like I've been climbing or hiking all of my life. And to go up to this extreme, you're close to 14K up there, 13.7, 6 or something. And, so you're pretty darn high up. And then suddenly you're in this amazing windstorm. And enough to take your breath away. But I just wanted to get that piece down about the energy down in that caldera. I mean, it's like, you look over the edge and it's like down there, right? It's way down there. And then the other side of it is way over there. It's, tiny. And so just looking down, it's like, wow. And because I was like, kind of like, okay, I need to wait out for this. It's either going to get worse, or it's going to stay, or it's going to get less, right? Maybe this is just a buffet of air coming through, which I think it was, because it was actually come to think of it, shortly after that it started to drizzle, and it rained, light rain, all the way down. The winds, the buffeting of the winds made it problematic getting down, because as you know, Mauna Loa, or may not know, but Mauna Loa is like lava flows. So the trails are all on hard rock lava flows, but sometimes they're fingers like this going up and up and up. On Mauna Kea, it's mostly cinder. I mean, hugely mostly cinder. So that's it's a softer touch, and it's smoother. On Mauna Loa, when you're walking across these lava flow trails, or up and down, the every step has to be really well placed, because you're kind of like stepping on stepping stones all the way through that are at different angles, different heights, etc. With the wind buffeting your body and your legs, right? I guess the more pants you had on, or the thicker pants you had on, the floppier ones, you'd catch more wind. That sort of issue. I had gone up with just tights on because it was cold, and they were really kind of interesting. When you stood still, you got cold in your tights, but when you start to walk, I don't know, somehow the sun would hit it and it warmed them up. But after that windstorm, which now I think about it, was the precursor of the rain that was coming in later. After that windstorm, we got those light drizzles, and that was really cold because it was blowing, right? And so I was in, I don't know, I had a cotton layer on the bottom, and then a thick swimsuit type of, or not a swimsuit, more of a surf suit, very, very light body surfing sort of suit that you might have. And it has a back pocket, so I could put my gloves in there and my extra hat. I brought an extra hat up today, well that day. Kind of like knew things were going to go wrong or go very wild. Even though the forecast had predicted 10 mile an hour. And I thought, okay, this is a breeze. I'm going to make it up to the summit in record time and back down again. And which actually I did. I improved my time on the main section up to the crater rim by an hour over my best measured time prior. And so I've been working on bulking out my proteins a little bit and building more muscle, doing more running. I'm also doing my full Ashtanga practice. So I do those running, jogging, and I'm going up and down. I'm not going along flat, I'm going up and down when I jog. So I get that uphill stuff and the downhill stuff too. So I keep that trimmed out. But the real challenge comes when you're faced with these rapidly changing conditions, weather-wise. And so I do really wanted to make this video to just like give you a heads up. You know what I mean? This is really intense territory up there, and weather-wise, and beauty-wise is really intense too. It's like unbelievably beautiful. So, you know, if you like this video, let me know. Any questions I'll try and answer. I was thinking of doing some other videos, maybe on equipment. Show you the gear that I take, and and how I manage my power levels during the hike. It's not what you'd think. I fast. My best hikes by far are when I fasted the day before and during the hike, and maybe eat, but probably not, better not eat when I get home, and then have a light breakfast the following day, you know, after a run and doing the yoga. So that's sort of energy reserves, I guess. Well, it depends on how you look at this. That's the sort of energy reserves that I believe that I can sustain or have available. But really, it's about mitochondria and them being super healthy. And because that's where you're going to actually derive a lot of non-food based energy out of the mitochondria. And so the cold, actually up there, I do cold showers here all the time. Rarely take a warm shower. I don't go in freezing waters anymore. I used to. When I was living in London, I used to go into the lakes there in the winter, and there was ice around the edge, but those were the days. Not anymore. I don't have that facility here, except when you go up on Mauna Loa and it's been snowing up there. It's so beautiful. And so I do encourage you to, train. Start by just taking baby steps, which is what I did, and let it grow. But if you follow what I have to say, or think around what I have to say, I'm not saying you follow me, but think around the experiences that I have to share with you, with regards to doing this high altitude hiking. It's pretty amazing. So the one hugely amazing thing, and let me give you a clue into this mitochondrial activity. It gets really deep really fast, and I don't want to bore you. But the deep thing about this whole thing is that, when it's about energy. And at these levels, we're about 1,000 feet here. These levels, there's a certain amount of energy in the land. And as you go higher, the energy gets thicker, right? And it's not the earth-grounded energy that we're talking about up there. It's actually the ether-based energy that's out there that comes down, or is all around us, but it's thicker up there, and it's condensing down as it goes into these lower altitudes and into the core all the way. So this condensation process, which if you follow people like Victor Schauberger, Rudolf Steiner, these ways that things actually manifest are totally opposite of what opposite of what we're being taught. And when you go dig when you do a deep dive into the mitochondrial math, you'll find that there's enormous, ginormous power levels that are available to us. I mean, gargantuan, huge power levels. And when you consider the number of mitochondria in the body, I don't know, 60, 150 trillion, I don't know, it's a huge number, right? I don't have the knowledge to really to put a finite figure on it. But, you know, there's more mitochondria in the liver, the brain, you know. There's no mitochondria in the blood. So there's this mitochondrial matrix that's, as we normally talk about in the ATP cycle, you know, that food generation, oxygen and water, structured water, by the way. Very, very important for all your joint activities. And so that structured water and all of that, the components that are activated by the mitochondria, especially from sunlight, from cold showers, and being able to sustain the ability to keep the body's internal heat turned on. And it's kind of interesting. There's been times when I've come back from, you know, some of these longer training hikes at those times, and I mean, in the yoga practice, I remember one day it was like in the yoga practice the following day my tissues were just like fluid. I'd been taking a lot of vitamin C, or began to take a lot of vitamin C at around that time, and I think that activated, you know, a lot more antioxidants, but it was very fluid. So there's, you know, I have been undergoing deep physiological changes, I guess, right? I didn't do any biomarkers, but the you know, just the ability to be able to breathe up there and to hike, you know. On that note, and this is going to be another contrary point of view, but for asthmatics, which I've been most of my life, more on probably lifespan-wise than off. Although I wasn't doing activity back then because I couldn't. So it didn't really affect there wasn't any activity. But I came across in England, I think it was, one of my clients talked about a Dr. Batyoko from Russia, who has this breathing technique for asthmatics. And I started to use it. Excuse me. And I started to use it, and it was amazing how quickly it cleared my lungs. So I was thinking, you know, how comes? I was thinking how comes, because in his activity, or in his process, he suggests that you exhale and start counting. So you're actually holding your breath on an empty lung. And the idea here is to quickly increase the CO2 levels that can get the brain to balance out at the higher CO2 levels in the blood, right? Without going into panic mode. And you can do that. Now, asthmatics, this is a really interesting physiological aspect of this. With asthmatics, what happens, like what would happen for me would be, I'd exhale as long as I could, and it could be maybe it was like 5-10 seconds. Now, if I were to do it, I could go 30, 40. If I was lying down, I could probably go 50. But in the early days, it was just I'd get a tiny bit of relief. But what would happen physiological is that there would be like a popping, like literally a crackling in my nose where it would be blocked, and down my trachea, back in here, and there would be like this intense I guess, restructuring of the tissue there. Is that what's happening, right? Some restructuring is happening in the tissue there. And lo and behold, the bronchial and the trachea, more importantly for me, would dilate. Yep, would relax. You get like a little coughing of usually tiny amounts of phlegm that are caught in the folds. And you could breathe deeper. So what the Butikoku method does is it trains you to hold your breath for longer, right? And in so doing, it actually increases the dilation of the trachea and etc., the other cavities. So why would this work? You've got less oxygen. Fast forward, whatever it's been, I don't know, 20 years. Fast forward, recently, like in the last 2 or 3 years, I discovered partial fasting, or rather started to do partial fasting, and noticed some changes in the asthma intensity. But what's really interesting now, I'm going up on Mauna Loa, is that even though I may be slightly congested going up there, more if I didn't fast the day before, I would be slightly congested going up there. When I get up there and I start hiking, guess what? My lungs clear. I can breathe deeper. Isn't that weird? Or isn't that interesting? Right? So there's a lot of anomalies that are physiologically apparent to me that, are not fully understood, and I don't understand it either. Other than if there's more CO2, less oxygen in the air, you've got more antioxidant density in the body, I would imagine. Which would mean you've got more charge in the body, right, electrically. Because antioxidants, as I understand it, are basically free electrons that are available to do their work. And so anyway, just those notes. Yeah, the other topic I want to talk about in some future video, let me know if you're interested, would be about gear. What gear to take. The mental game, huge. What else? Water consumption. Oh, food versus water. Sunscreen. And layers. Make sure you've got layers for whatever temperature it's likely to be. But if it drops into like minus 20 or 20 degree wind chill that day, and you didn't have the gear up there, you're trying to come. Yeah, don't want to think about it. Not easy. I mean, it's a killer. Yeah, don't mess with it. So I'm going to go pick up my liloquois here, and give me a thumbs up. Hope you like this. Hope you got something out of it. Hey, and then maybe I'll see you up on Mauna Loa someday. Be great.